Good evening, everybody. And yes, it is evening. Making another video now. And rather than address things at the state level or the national level as I have been, I'm going to try to get a little bit closer to home today, specifically here in Chesterfield County. Now, a friend of mine sent me an article that I read about a local church. And if you bear with me, I'm going to put my readers on and I'll read part of it to you. All right, police. Chesterfield church receives warning for violating governor's ban on large gatherings. And this is specifically about the Mount Gilead church. Now, those of you who know me know by now, I'm an atheist. I don't go to church. Not going to go to church. Doesn't matter. If you want to go to church, you have the right to go to church. Now, call me crazy, but I respect other people's rights. And the reason I respect those rights is because I have rights. And I want people to respect my rights. So if I'm one of these clowns out here that either A, tries to restrict your rights, Ralph Northam, or B, it supports somebody trying to restrict your rights, then I have no right to complain later when you come back and try to take away my rights. See how that works? So, Mount Gilead, apparently they got a letter from the police, specifically from Colonel Katz. Now, if Colonel Katz, and I don't know if he has or not, maybe some of you do. If he has, please tell me. If he's one of these officers who has said, well, we're not going to enforce unconstitutional laws, especially when it comes to the Second Amendment, then let me know if he has said that or not. He's not going to enforce them. Because if he's willing to enforce this unconstitutional law, why would you think he wouldn't enforce some other unconstitutional law? But you may be saying to yourself, well, Floyd, what's the big deal? I mean, you don't go to church. Why do you care? Well, I just explained to you why I care. Because if they can do it to the church, they can do it to anybody. All right? Doesn't matter whether you go to church or not. You want to have a cookout in your backyard, have 30 of your friends over, and all of a sudden, you know, one of your neighbors says, hey, somebody's having a party, and they're getting really close, and you need to send the police. Number one, I've never really given much credence to that old saying, snitches get stitches. But in these particular cases, I'm willing to make an exception. People just can't mind their own damn business. But if the people at this church, whether they did or not, I'm not even going to debate with you whether they actually had a large gathering. They said they didn't. The police say they did. I don't care. It's their business. If they want to have 200 people in there, bring them in. It's their church, their decision to make. Okay? Now you say, well, Floyd, it's against the law. The governor has issued an edict, order number 55, I believe it is. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Pardon me once again. I'm going to read to you the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, part of our Bill of Rights. Maybe you've heard of it. I know you might have been taught it in school many years ago. In recent years, however, I question whether it gets taught or not. But let's read Amendment 1, shall we? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. That means they're not going to tell you what religion you have to be a part of. Now, this comes about from our founding fathers because before the American Revolution, you had to be a member of the Anglican Church, the Church of England. You had to pay taxes to support that church. And if you didn't go to that church or support that church, you could be arrested. If you were a Baptist or a Methodist or an Episcopalian or any other religion in the American colonies governed by King George III, and you didn't go to the Anglican Church, you could be arrested. So our founders, in their infinite wisdom, decided, you know what? The government has no business telling anybody what religion they have to worship. Now, if you don't want to believe me, that's fine. I know a lot of people don't because I'm crazy. But go look it up. Do some reading. Look at the founding fathers, specifically Madison, Jefferson, George Mason, and what they wrote about religious freedom. All right, going on. Establishment of religion, or, here we go, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Prohibiting. Congress shall make no law prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech. Now tell me how many of these, this is just the First Amendment. There's 5 parts to the First Amendment. Tell me how many of these our government at the local, state, and federal level have been abridging or infringing on. Freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. Let me read that one again. Or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress. For a redress of grievances. Now, redress of grievances, that means we can go to our government in many forms. We can call them, email them, write them a letter, knock on their door at their office, or we can protest. Maybe you remember reading about the revolution in King George III and why we actually fought to free ourselves from the rule of England. We sought a redress of grievances. And King George III spit in our faces time and time again. I think we all know how that ended. Do we want to do that again? Blackface Northam and your minions? Is that what it's going to come to? Do we have to do another revolution? Because when people try to seek a redress of grievances in a peaceful manner, and they're constantly rejected, not a lot of choices left to us. Now then, some of you may say, well, Floyd, that's Congress, that's the federal government, that's federal law. Okay, let's take that another step. Let's go to the 14th Amendment. Let me read that to you. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. You with me so far? No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. You can look it up. Get on your computer, go to Google, go to Foxfire, go to whatever search engine you use, and type in 14th Amendment and read it. Read the first, read the 14th. And you tell me that our rights are not being abused. You tell me that our rights are not being infringed upon. Now, again, back to the Gilead Church. If those people want to gather, knowing the risks, and they're willing to take those risks, then that's their business. Who am I to tell them they can't? Who is Blackface Northam to tell them they can't? Who is Colonel Katz of the Chesterfield Police Department to tell them they can't? Now, I know we're not supposed to get angry with the police. They are our heroes in blue. We don't dare question the police. I mean, they're just doing their jobs, right? They're just following orders. Well, Hitler's brown shirts were just following orders. Stalin's death squads were just following orders. Just because the governor says it's the law doesn't make it just or moral, and it certainly doesn't make it constitutional. So you need to make a decision, Virginia citizens. Do other citizens' rights matter to you at all, or is it just your rights that you're worried about? Which is it? Either people have a right to assemble or they don't. Now, you're going to say to me, well, Floyd, they're putting other people at risk, because then if they spread it within the church and they come out to the public, blah, blah, blah. How many of you have been going to the grocery store? How many of you have been going to Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart? How many of you are ordering food and going to pick it up or having it delivered to your house? You're coming in contact with people. So you're the only ones who get to make exceptions. Nobody else gets to. Some of you better stop and think about what it is you're doing and saying, and how hypocritical you sound, and the double standards that you keep setting. You seem to expect everybody else to follow these arbitrary, capricious, and onerous rules, but they don't seem to apply to you unless you decide they should. I'm not that person. I'm not somebody who's going to tell someone else, you don't have a right to do that, because then somebody's going to turn around and tell me I don't have a right to do something. That's not how rights work. You either have them or you don't. Okay? So in Mount Gilead Church in Chesterfield County, more power to you. If you want to get together, go for it. You have that right, and no one has the right to take it away from you. Y'all have a good evening.